let's move on to the last team, the Washington Wizards. Yeah, some changes as well happened here in Washington. Monte Morris was added. Will Barton was there. He's now
Bradley
there.
Beal, start
Bradley.
Kuzma.
Yeah, Kuzma. Well, these guys are the last year's players, but um, yeah, there's no more Thomas Bryant, which created some log jam there at the center position. So who do you think starts here? Monte, Beal are definitely starters. I think Kuzma starts. Um,
Kristaps. Kristaps
Kristaps
starts.
starts, but does he start in the center position?
I think so. I think he'll start. They won't play him at power forward. He's a center. He's a center. They're not gonna play the Gafford for Zingis or Gibson for Zingis. Kristaps will start at center. The small forward position is up in the air. They could go Rui if they need scoring. They could go
No,
Will
but do you
Barton.
agree Kyle Kuzma starts?
Yeah, Kyle Kuzma starts. Kyle Kuzma starts. They could go Denny because Denny fits the starting five because he showed with his defense and then
But
his ability to facilitate and contribute without the ball. So they could also go Denny there. So that's a question mark. I don't know either. I think it's Will Barton, but I'm not sure.
yeah, I think it's Will Barton. I don't think they will. I think they started Delhi at times for
Last year.
last year at times, but um with Will Barton there, I think he's the well at least the
But
popular
just to
starter choice, I guess.
yeah, just to play devil's advocate there, Will though is a sixth man guy ever since. So like Buddy Hield when we talked about Indiana, there's a possibility they bring him back because that's his role, like Jordan Clarkson. I mean, these guys, this is just where they excel before,
Yeah.
where they excelled before. So there's a possibility that they think that way also, and then they start Benny instead. That goes, he fits the starting five. He's a young player that they want to develop, and then it puts Will Barton in a better position to contribute instead of starting with starting five and then not get attempts where he's really just a scorer, and then he's gonna have to have to compete with Beal, with Kuzma, with KP. So possible. I mean, that's a possible situation there.
All right. So who do you think surprised us this year?
Well,
Monte. Last year, I think everyone was surprised with Kyle Kuzma.
I think Kyle Kuzma will not be as good as last year because last year Kuzma played most of the year without Beal,
Yeah.
and then he played a little only with Porzingis, which is later in the season. Now
Yeah.
he has Beal and Porzingis. So Kuzma will see some drop in his. He's not gonna be the number one guy. He was a number one guy for them a lot of times last
Yeah.
year because of the injuries, and I don't think that will happen this year. So he's probably the guy who could bust. Okay, Kyle Kuzma, but a player who could be a sleeper, maybe not surprise, is Kristaps. I think he's being picked at the late 40s. Yes, last year he was top 24 when he was in Washington. I know that's just a few games, but and he played until the silly season, which is
Yeah.
surprising. So Kristaps might surprise. I think if you can get Kristaps in mid 30s, it's a good. It's already. It's okay. I think that's where he could end up at the 30s. So he might surprise. He might surprise people who with his performance this year.
Yeah, but that's not a big surprise, right? I mean, I think it's not the performance or the stats that worries everyone about Porzingis. It's always the injuries.
Yeah.
The injury was like you said during silly season. I think everyone was a surprise as when he was still playing towards the end of the season, playing for nothing really. So
Yes.
and playing without Beal, so pretty much there's really no sense in playing him in terms of basketball wise. Um, so yeah, that's not a big surprise. Do you think Monte surprises? I'm
I
hoping
think
he does.
Monte's
I mean,
being.
I picked him
I
in
think
the
Monte's
other
being
league.
picked already. Monte's already being picked where he should be picked. I don't think he surprises. People might think that he will become all of a sudden a top 100 player because he's now the starter there and there's no Jokic. But there's Beal, there's Porzingis. It might not be Jokic, but he's not gonna be a scorer in Denver, in Washington. The same as in Denver. There are lots of players who can score here. Unless Beal gets injured, then yeah, Monte will be surprising. But if not, he's what he is. He's a solid point guard, unspectacular, really not gonna be blow you out of whatever. But he's
but
gonna be
won't hurt
solid
you. I
late.
think the biggest asset
Yeah,
in Montemore's game is that his game is clean, very
yeah.
clean. No, very low turnovers. Can shoot effectively. Can shoot the free throws. Can shoot the threes. So overall, if you were talking about Roto, he's one of the guys that you can pick towards the end of your draft just to help out in certain categories. But he won't blow you away with big stats, right? Not a double double guy. Maybe he scores 15, 16 points every now and then, but not really a big scorer as well.
Johnny Davis, somebody there's the type pick this year's draft. He had a terrible summer league, but in college, this guy was really good. He could play. He knows how to play. But for deep leagues, maybe because uh, he has Beal, so I don't know how they will use him. But he's
I
a good
still can't
player.
understand why Beal has fallen off a lot in drafts.
Because the past few seasons he's not been good. He's been his ranking has really dropped the past few seasons. His shooting has really been bad the past few seasons.
2
So I
years
think
ago, was he
people
bad? He was with
a couple of
Westbrook
years
then.
already. Number one, he hasn't been able to finish seasons
Yeah,
with
that's
injury.
true.
So given that, and then given the field goal problems, like the past two seasons, 45%, 45%, then 3 points wise been very low. 30%. His 3 points has been going way south. 38, 36, 35, 34, 30. So I think people are seeing like the progression of it's going down, and then his injuries. And then maybe
No,
that's
it's just surprising because last year he was injured most of the year, but he went first round in a 14 team
yeah.
league. So that drop off from that to this year, like he's been going third round, second round, late second.
30s, yeah,
I think
30s, third
third
round,
round was the
third
more
round.
common ADP for him. So that drop off is really surprising for me, and I feel like that's if he drops to third round, it looks like he could be a steal there, given the skill that he has.
I agree with you. There is a possibility there that he bounces back also. If you can get him at 30, 32, 33, 34, I think that's good. I mean, instead of SGA, I would rather go to him
Yeah,
instead of,
right.
yeah, I mean,
How about
but
Mitchell, Donovan Mitchell, for example, who has dropped
I,
off?
I'd rather go to Beal this year than Donovan Mitchell. I think, given,
But Mitchell has sometimes gone first over Bill. He has dropped. I mean, that really confuses me a bit. But I haven't really had that many drafts yet. I've just had two, so I don't know if that's the norm or maybe he might move up later on. But yeah, just surprising for me to see a player that went from first round last year to just third round this year. Just a big drop off, and considering that Beal is probably the number one guy in Washington,
I
still
guess
one
people
A,
haven't,
one B.
yeah, I guess people also thought about foreseeing his effect on him because they didn't really play last year. So maybe they're including that into it. I don't know. That's possible. But again, I think the shooting woes have spooked people as well. Maybe they're thinking if he doesn't shoot threes that well anymore, then that's a big blow to his fantasy value because that's one of his strengths. So that's another thing. But I think you're correct in a sense that I don't think he's that good. He's not first round good anymore because of age and injuries and everything. But he's not third round bad that at
Yeah,
yet.
he should be at
Yeah.
least somewhere there in the middle. But again, if he's going third round, I think he's worth a try. I guess he's worth a pick.
Yes, I agree. I
If
agree.
especially if he
Instead of
falls to fourth, around 38, 37.
Oh, that's too low. I mean, if he falls that low, yeah, I would, you should go get him. You should go and get him there.
Yeah.